ceases to function internationally, which is always possible, right now it's functioning much less efficiently, we should take notice. You know, the Canadian dollar is worth more than the American dollar. We should wake up and say, maybe the cause of this is we're printing too many dollars. It's not that complicated. But the reason why foreign policy is so important is, first, when you have a foreign policy of intervention, you have wars going on, it's always used as an excuse to undermine our liberties at home. But it's also an undermining of our national defense. Our national defense is in worth 3,400 major military personnel, and over 60% say we are much weaker as a nation than we were 5 years ago. It is now known by expert economists, Nobel Prize winning economists, who say this war, we cannot end it and the way it's continuing without spending $3 trillion. There's only been one war that we have fought longer than this war, and that's the Second World War. That Second World War is the only war that has cost more than this war. So time is running out. If we wait to the end, it's going to be chaotic. It'll be like struggling to get on helicopters again. There's a much more graceful way of ending it. And that is by saying that we did our best. We're going to turn the country over to Iraq. It belongs to them. Yeah. Western powers have been involved in Iraq since World War I. The country is an artificial country drawn up by the Versailles Treaty. So it is time for us to reconsider, and we certainly ought to do it before we see our dollar collapse. If we do it now, we can save a lot of money, and that would be another point. It's the point that we have to get our budget into balance. We're spending $1 trillion a year overseas. So let's save $2 or $3 or $4 or $500 billion a year, balance the budget, and take care of the people who are truly in need here in this country first. You know, it never made much sense to me to tax the American people as we have been doing for decades, going over and interfering in countries where we were not invited to interfere, blowing up bridges and blowing up their infrastructure, and then our government comes back to us and taxes us again and say, oh, we shouldn't have done that. Let's rebuild their country. I would say, let's not blow up their bridges in the first place. Then we wouldn't have to rebuild them, and we could take care of our bridges here at home. But you know, we're spending right now in the process of spending $1 billion on an embassy in Iraq. We're building 14 military bases, and then we tell the Iraqi people, oh, we don't plan to say. It has nothing to do with oil, and they're supposed to believe us. You know, if we tell them the truth that we're done with this, we're coming home, I think there would be no more Americans killed. I think they would just say, well, let's have a de facto peace until you leave, and then we'll sort out our problems. The sooner we do that, the better. But you know what? They tell us if we leave, there'll be chaos. But if we stay, there's going to be chaos and more killing. The people during the 1960s, when I was in the Air Force, we were told, well, you can't leave Vietnam because it'll all turn communist. There will be a domino theory. And guess what? We left Vietnam. There was some chaos. But all of a sudden, after 20 years of fighting, 20 years of the French and the Americans trying to tell the Vietnamese how to run their country, guess what? They become westernized. They trade with us. We travel there. We invest there. Their president comes here. Proves the point of the founders of this country. Trade with people, be friends with people, and get along with people, even when they're imperfect. If you worry about imperfections, deal with our imperfections first.